The Wilderness Within You, Day 12. This is the second Sunday in Lent. Two readings for today. First from Luke chapter 6, verses 37 to 42. I'm reading from the NIV. Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven. Give, and it will be given to you, a good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over, will be poured into your lap. For with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. He told them also this parable. Can the blind lead the blind? Will they not both fall into a pit? The student is not above the teacher, but everyone who is fully trained will be like their teacher. Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, "Brother, let me take the speck out of your eye," when you yourself fail to see the plank in your own eye? You hypocrite! First take the plank out of your eye, and then you will see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. And from Luke 18, verses 9 to 14, reading from the Revised Standard Version. He also told this parable to some who trusted in themselves that they were righteous and despised others. Two men went up into the temple to pray, one a Pharisee and the other a tax collector. The Pharisee stood and prayed thus within himself: God, I thank thee that I am not like other men, extortioners, unjust, adulterers, or even like this tax collector. I fast twice a week. I give tithes of all that I get. But the tax collector, standing far off, would not even lift up his eyes to heaven, but beat his breast, saying, God, be merciful to me, a sinner. I tell you, this man went down to his house justified rather than the other. For everyone who exalts himself will be humbled, but he who humbles himself will be exalted. I don't know what your Facebook page is like, but mine is plastered with petitions to sign and links to articles about veganism, justice and peace initiatives, simple living stories, groovy permaculturalist gardening ventures, and sustainable building projects. I have among my friends Anglicans, Baptists, community church members, Quakers, Buddhists, Eastern and Greek Orthodox, atheists, Methodists, Catholics, and a few more beside. So most days on Facebook also bring a smattering of postings with Bible verses, links to articles about faith and practice, and inspirational posters with edifying texts superimposed on beautiful pictures. Jesus is very interested in Facebook. He likes to read what friends are saying to each other and look at the patterns of what they care about revealed in their posts. He comments very little, but he reads thoughtfully and thoroughly, sitting cross-legged on my bed, looking at the laptop. What? I ask, as he shakes his head with a smile, expressing what I can best describe as resigned amusement. What's up? They don't get my joke, he says. They never get that joke, and it was a good one. He wriggles along so I can sit beside him and look where he is pointing on my timeline. A Lenten post from a friend in the States. Brothers and sisters, we must not be like that Pharisee when we pray, for whoever exalts himself must be abased. Let us humble ourselves by fasting, so our prayers will be acceptable to God. I look at the post. I look at Jesus. What joke. There's not a lot of space for two people at the end of my bed, so I leave him at his end with the laptop and go back to my nest at the further end. Jesus? What joke? I can't quite get used to the eyes of Jesus. I will always remember them, brimming with life and laughter, with intelligence and wisdom, really seeing me, challenging, holding nothing back. It's not so funny if you have to explain it, he says. Even so? I wait for him to tell me. My story about the Pharisee and the tax collector, he explains. The point is, it's only half a story. The first half is the bit I tell, where the Pharisee looks at the tax collector and shudders and thinks I'm glad I'm not like him. But that's not the end of the story. The next part happens off the page in the life of the person reading, who looks at the Pharisee and thinks, I'm glad I'm not like him. Not hilarious, I know, but the joke was that you can't help doing it. You can't get away from it. Judgments and assumptions, opinions and evaluations, and then put-downs and condemnations, ostracising and dismissing. The whole world is full of people looking at each other and thinking, oh, I'm glad I'm not like him. It wasn't meant to be an anti-Pharisee dig. They were okay, the Pharisees. Well, some of them were. It was meant to be a reminder, a trigger, something that would linger in the memory to help you catch yourself doing it and break the habit. But people hear it and nod sagely and think how awful Pharisees are and start looking round for Pharisees to identify and write off. Oh, I say. Oh, right. I hadn't realised. Jesus shrugs. I don't mind them not getting the joke, but it's disappointing if it's seen as permission to isolate yet another group to vilify and point the finger at. The bottom line is, if you think you're not like them, you are, because we're all in this together.